Steve Lepsher.
All right, I think I see recording. Do you see recording in the corner? Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yes.
You're recording.
Red lights on, off, on,
Yep.
off, on.
Okay.
Or is it cycle like that?
I think it's
What?
Michael's.
Okay.
It's on, no, it's
Okay.
recording. It's good.
Huh? Yeah. Off, on.
All right, so it's a call the meeting. We'll take a roll call. Kathleen Corbett,
Not yet.
not yet. Russell Kimes,
I'm here.
present. Bill Parrett,
Here. Oh, he was
Oh,
on mute.
different. Oh, you meet the other
Oh,
pair.
I'm on mute, but here I'm present. I'm present.
There he is.
The other side.
I'm Bill Parrott. You're Bill Parrott. That we've been mistaken for each other a few times.
All right, and Jennifer Home, present.
That's spelled
And
the
do we have
same.
anyone else in the audience?
No.
Online?
No, it's just,
All right,
just us
super.
so far.
All right, so we do have a quorum with the three of us, so thank you. This is group 2 of the Charter Review Commission. Just to give you guys some overview, we've been put into groups to look at certain parts of the charter and to ask you, and what you're doing is to basically give us some recommendations or any changes you would like to make or updates. That's sort of the purpose of this meeting. At the end of a certain period, which will probably be the end of February, we will regroup, put forward some advisements and other pieces to basically give at the ultimate end to the town council for them to see if they want to take forward to then and vote on them, to then put them forward as a referendum in the election. So you know the process.
Hey, there she is.
Hello.
The purpose of this today is to get your input and to basically help us basically formulate any changes as well. And so first of all, I'd like to thank you all for all the hard work you do, all the time you put in your tenure, and all the various roles you've played in town. So thank you for that. I'll mark you down as present. Thank you, Kathleen.
Lee.
No problem.
If you have any, ability to help us with parking.
No.
I hear you. So super. So if you could go through and just state your names for the recording.
Okay. William Parrott, Assistant Fire Chief.
Albie Bassett, Fire Chief.
Paul Payne, Fire Marshal.
I gotta hit the button.
Paul Payne, Fire Marshal.
Super. Great. Would you like to make an opening statement or?
Actually, before we start, Jennifer, sorry, I'm actually leaning to Kathleen on this.
Yes.
In full transparency, I am the volunteer assistant fire chief, which I've done for 27 years. So I can, and which means I co-lead the volunteer fire company, and I'm the second in command of the fire department. So I can recuse myself, I can sit on the other side and answer questions, or I can just disappear, whatever you think is appropriate. I just want full transparency, you know that that's what I do.
So we do now have a quorum of the three of myself.
Yes.
If you'd like to participate in the interview, why don't we do
I'll
that?
sit on the other side, sure.
Love to get your input. Not that we're having sides here,
No,
right? Thanks, Russ. Turn on your mic. So just for the record, Russ Kimes is going to now be part of the interviewee. Okay, super. So wonderful. So some people come and want to make an opening statement? Is there anything
Nope, I didn't have anything prepared. I don't think I-
anyone have any other comments or input they wanted to give? Russ? Did you get a sense, just get settled down?
No, I think the group, you all met, had a discussion around it and had a couple high-level points to discuss. So I don't know if you want to just.
Okay.
You want to go into those? I didn't know. if you had
Go into those.
questions.
Let's hear those.
I mean, the ones
And I
that,
have some questions for you guys
yeah,
too.
basically looking at our section of the charter, we identified 3 things that maybe, we would like to see get clarified.
Mhm.
I don't know how, the numbering seemed weird when I was writing them down, but in C8-4, letter A,
Powers and duties?
powers and duties.
Gotcha, good.
We currently, now that our rank structure includes myself, a career assistant chief, and the volunteer assistant chief, we were looking to outline, let me find that, or how it says. So it says, in the event of vacancy in a position of chief, and assistant chief shall be acting chief.
Right,
And we think the to label it as the paid assistant chief or the career assistant chief first, and then the fire company assistant chief second would be acting chief.
Which is it's a change. You know, we didn't have a paid assistant chief. And right now, even though the way it works is I'm second in command, but it makes sense. And I think the fire company would agree with this, that the paid full-time person should take over those duties as the chief in the absence of the chief.
Got it. Okay.
So that was from that section. Our second one, and this maybe a little more of a discussion, but it's C8-4C4, which talks about as a paid firefighter, a paid fire department established, remove or suspend without payment of wages. That's currently not how it's going. HR and I do the investigation, and then with HR, we have determined any consequences, and then we just inform the fire commission. That's how it's been working. That's how it's been going. I think that would be being the HR experts, probably the better way to do it.
So can you just walk us through that? So basically you believe there might be a violation, a code of conduct or something, I don't know, who knows,
Yep,
right?
SOP violation,
Right.
something happens, it goes
That gets reported to you or to HR?
it goes through the chain of command. Usually, it'll get to me, and we'll let HR know. We'll launch the investigation, sometimes internal, sometimes with HR's help, depending on the severity. And then at that point, once the findings are done, consult with HR and look at the employee and say, okay, well, let's give a day off, a day suspension, or something of that nature. And then we basically, we agreed on it. HR and myself would issue the discipline, and then the fire commission would get notified that happened. So that's kind of how it's been working, but instead of.
So you guys have not been doing like written charges delivered after a hearing by the commission? If you want me to
All that written stuff happens at the HR level. So everything will go through human resources, all the stuff, the violation. Okay, you're being suspended for X amount of time based on these violations. And, give you the clause of what would happen next. All that comes out of HR.
You're talking suspensions, not terminations, right? That's a big difference.
Yes,
Right.
not
between the two.
termination.
And career staff employees, not volunteers.
Right. So if I may, what happens under number 4 actually happens anyway, but you're saying that there's almost like a 3A where HR gets involved. Because once you go through, you and HR go through the process as you described, would you not still go to the commission?
That's what I'm trying to say.
I just give them I advise them that, an employee is being suspended or some type of discipline.
Do they vote on that?
No.
No, see, it doesn't sound like, just for the record, remove or suspend without payment of wages any employee of the fire department for a violation of any such rules and regulations or for conduct found by the commission. So it has to be found by the commission to be detrimental to the public welfare, but only after a hearing by the commission upon written charges delivered to the accused person a reasonable time before such hearing. At which hearing such person may be represented by counsel, provided such actions may be taken only in accordance with the collective bargaining agreements and regulatory obligations.
Correct. And then that's another part of this. Their contract outlines, how the discipline happens. If they grieve it, it comes to me first. Then, if I deny it, no, I'm not going to change the suspension, or we don't work something out. So say we gave 24-hour suspension, and with the union and the employee, we say, okay, we're going to give you a 12-hour suspension. Then at that point, usually it's, okay, we're happy with that, and so on. If they disagree with that, then the next move in their contract is to bring it to the fire commission. So that's the third step in the grievance process.
And is that at their election to do that, to bring
Yes.
it to the commission? So the person who has been basically is going to be suspended or whatever, has that ability, but they don't have to elect to have that ability for
The
that. to happen?
union would agree whether to
Go forward to the third
with it,
step.
which more than likely, 90% of the time, they're gonna move forward with that, so they don't get jammed up with their employee, with their member.
Gotcha. So it sounds like a lot has evolved since this was written, and a lot of it is also governed by the agreement with the union and the contract.
True.
Maybe we can modify the wording to reflect just as you described.
Or maybe, how about this? What if we got to the point where, is there a certain section in the contract that this refers to?
They
The
change
grievance
all the
procedure,
time.
grievance and
Yeah.
discipline, yes.
Okay, because what I'm thinking is we put something instead that this refers to that section at the time that this happens. So if you modify that section, then those new rules would apply on that procedure. And we just make reference to that section,
They
which
want a
gives
fire
that
marshal.
flexibility.
Or perhaps instead of just
Do you
the
want me to go
section,
down?
just the collective
I don't have
bargaining.
Right,
anything here.
exactly.
Okay.
In aggregate.
I
Right.
mean, I don't know if we want to, before this
sorry,
is
Bill had a question.
finalized, go through HR too.
Yeah.
I think that was my point.
Hey, Bill, just a quick, sorry to interrupt. Paul has to go. He has to go conduct an investigation for the call they just went to. So
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
It's just, the order and everything is fine. As long as HR is involved in the process and has a seat at the table, just because, I mean, I know there's contracts and different things of that nature, but the person leading HR should be most current with employee law, what's happening in town and other places, similarities amongst the departments, even though there are separate contracts. And really, from an input standpoint, I'm not necessarily focused on who makes the decision, but I mean, I think HR should be involved. I mean, it's kind of that's why we have an HR department, at least to me.
I agree.
You want
All
me
right.
to follow up with HR and send you something?
She's coming to see us.
She's coming to see us,
Okay.
which is fine. How do you refer to your contract in the end?
The collective bargaining
The
agreement
collective
Yeah.
bargaining for the firefighting?
Yep.
Okay,
for local 3224.
okay,
Yeah,
that's like the
so-
official document terminology. Yeah, I actually personally think that if we just refer to that document and let that procedure, if you go on to modify that procedure over time, then this would stay current and be relevant. And then maybe to Bill's point that, that HR also might get a report or, whatever as part of the output, it's fine too.
Well, they're
I think it's more than a
actively
report.
involved.
But they're in active,
Yeah.
I get they're an active part of it. Okay. All right, super. Did you have any other changes you were thinking? Oh, sorry, Bill has a question?
No, I was gonna say, if they're an active part, that's the exact point I was trying to make. That's great.
Yep.
And the last one that we identified, and I'll let Russ expand on it, but the state laws for fire marshal. So that is in D2, the last line. Fire marshal who shall possess the powers and perform the duties imposed upon such officer by the law or by ordinance of the town. Well, we should just add state statute.
yeah, for clarification, the fire marshal actually derives their authority and responsibility through the state fire marshal. They're in this kind of weird gray area where they're an asset of the state, but they also are an asset of the municipality. So I think it's just adding language to reference the state, not just town ordinances. That's all, just to make dot I's cross T's.
Taking time.
Would you suggest then where it says by law, where you say by law as in the Connecticut state statutes?
And
And then
municipal,
or by local ordinance of the town?
correct, because then there can be some things like burning permits that we handle that are municipal. So, yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
all righty.
Those are the three things that we, in our section, unless you ask us questions that we,
Yeah.
makes us think.
I have one question. So you only have 3 members of the fire commission.
We've been tossing this one around.
Have you? Have you ever thought about having 5?
We
Or
talked
more?
about it because one pro of what I thought was a pro of 5, and you guys being on maybe some different boards can enlighten us, but obviously we can never have 2 of the members
Yeah,
in the same place. And, being some of them are very tied to the fire department. What happens if both of them are there for coffee and we start talking about something? Or, what I was looking at is, okay, I want to talk to two of the members. That way we can bounce ideas off of each other, and then bring it to the other three. So that was my thought of it. Either way, I'm talking to individuals after that. So I'll take your recommendation. I know where we stood, as far as, we're three, I think police commission,
Three.
and one, and EMS was three, I think. So those were the only
Yeah.
ones, so.
So do you think 5 would be a hindrance, or it actually sounds like it would be a benefit?
Yeah, I looked at it as benefit and, just trying to get all 5 of them together eventually. I didn't know if that was going to be a challenge, and we'd still have to talk to the other ones individually at that point. So, I don't know, throw your ideas out and.
No, and when I talk to the chief about it, it makes it easier to be able to have conversations without striking, suddenly now you have quorum and you can't have a conversation. The flip side then I said though is, okay, well, now it means you have to circle back with the 3 people instead of, 2, half a dozen, 1. And I also can't speak to, and I don't know if they've had trouble filling those spots.
That was
Police
gonna be
and
my
fire,
next
I don't know if
question.
they have trouble.
I don't have an answer for that.
I don't know
So, yeah.
either. I'm not involved and I am,
Right.
So a quorum now is 2
2.
out of the
Yep.
3, right? Do you ever have issues getting the commission meetings held because
Nope.
people are, okay, so that's not a problem?
No,
Okay.
never, with the 3, never. I mean, they opened the meeting with 2 at times,
Okay.
previously.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like 5 would be a good idea then. What you'd be in,
I wouldn't be, I'm not opposed to it, but it's, I don't know if we want to,
Getting the
commit to it,
resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would there be any
What's your
benefit,
thoughts on our discussions yesterday? Oh, go ahead, sir.
would there be any benefit of, if you had whatever the number is, 5, to sort of either specify, or maybe you've thought about this, would someone who used to be in the police commission or some other commission or department, might there be somebody who you would like to have as a member of the 5 that really could add value?
Nothing that, nothing like one of our new commissioners, completely non-fire, so kind of bouncing things off of him. That's a real benefit for us because it makes us think in a different way. Everyone was kind of really tied to the fire service prior to that, so they kind of knew it. So maybe, they weren't pressing us for certain questions, which was good. But which it's better now
okay.
that he's questioning that stuff.
Yeah.
So we have that now.
I think for the volunteers, there's a slight negative to it, which is the fact that right now, one of the 3 is required to have been, or has to be an inactive member of the fire company.
Yeah.
So you dilute that if you go 2 more. So
You still have 1,
you still have 1, yeah, but you
Right.
dilute,
Yeah.
you dilute it a bit, just
diluting it in terms of the
the
power
of the vote. Yeah, that's all. But you still have a voice, which is the most important thing, so.
I mean, just for Bill's history, we have had a fire commissioner, we actually chair of the commission, move over and to be a member of the police commission and chair. So yes, we do. Talent does migrate from one commission to the next.
Yeah, I think that would be
valuable
good
ways.
I think that would be
Valuable
good
ways, yeah.
from an emergency service standpoint, the room we were looking at today, right? The more people
Yeah.
in crises trust each other, the better off that would be. That was the only reason I raised it.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yep.
My bill, any thoughts? I know we were back and forth. So.
Yeah, I think there's benefits to both. I think having more voices, obviously more perspective, gives a better, more well-rounded opinion on something. Conversely, it's less agile. So right now, we don't really have an issue getting a quorum with 2 people. We can, business can get done a little bit more rapidly. I guess my only concern would be, now you're trying to have to get 93. Is that more difficult to achieve that day in and day out for matters of business? I think, from the 30,000-foot view, I think more voices is always good, but that would be the downside.
You both come from different towns, right? So you've had relationships with the commissions in those towns. What's been the mix and experience?
We had 3. The mayor was one of the
In
commissioners. Yes. So then the one from each party. So there was really no. Yeah, and they really didn't get involved as much in the operations of the department, and really just did the high level.
So the mayor was an ex officio or an actual commission
Actual
member?
commissioner. Yep. And then one from each party.
And then I came from New York, so we had fire districts, because in the state of New York, the town can't have a fire department, so it has to form a district. So we were like an autonomous, we did our own taxing and everything like that. So we kind of almost function here like a hybrid, I feel like, between municipality and a fire district, and the fact that we have a commission that handles a lot of the business aspects of the department, but the budget is linked to the town. We were basically very similar, except we had our own budget and our own ability to tax. And then the town would collect the tax and pay us, the district. We had 5. Again, some benefits to it, definitely. And then some of the downsides would be you would get more room for factions, I felt, maybe even potentially on there, which kind of slowed some of the progress down some time. So,
And I think right now with the 3 new people, I think that where I started looking at, do I want more, is because I have to do it through, talk to people 3 times, not have 2 together. Prior to that, it wasn't really, I mean, they had a 10-year plus history of the department. So, maybe that changes in a couple of years. Right now, it's just overwhelming. All right, I'm going to talk, you could come to this meeting and talk to us, and someone else comes to another one. And like, if something's said a little different than it's like he said, she said that time. Just trying, no, it was said this way, it was said that way.
And that's a
Yeah.
good point you bring up, is our
Yeah.
previous chair was chair for the fire commission for over a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Warner did it for a very long time.
How do you feel about term limits on a commission?
I'm not opposed to term limits. Yeah, it's not bad, getting new blood in there, rethinking. I mean, that really helps us keeping everything fresh too. So that's not a bad thing as far as department thing. A little more work for us, but that's fine. That's what we do. So I'm not opposed to term limits.
Okay.
I don't think it affects the volunteers either way, but I don't think they'd be opposed to it.
If you don't mind me saying on that question of 3 to 5, and I'm not trying to get on either side of the issue, I was chairman of the audit committee for 10 years and 9 years. And in the beginning, we had 3 sitting members, and then we went to 5. And I felt that having more members active created a little more formality, which I thought was a good thing. We sort of made it more serious, and it's documented more, I felt. I mean, I'm not suggesting you guys aren't doing the right thing. That's my experience as I was sitting here listening to it. Doesn't mean it's right, but just wanted to mention that.
I mean, my question on some of these other committees that are maybe like an audit committee or something like that, are they doing more individual work in that committee versus, they're not, where ours aren't really we're doing the work and we're kind of just advising them.
Product-based versus
Yeah.
supervisory
Right.
almost.
I don't know if that's when you look at like a town council or finance committee, you guys go research this and I didn't know if that was happening.
No,
think
I
there's
think that is a difference. I think that is you're more hands-on than the committee members, if that's your point. I mean, the committee members are working hard, on the audit committee, they're reviewing the financial statements and going in, but they never go to put out the fire. You know what I'm saying? So you guys.
Well, just for clarification, Bill, Albie is not on the commission.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
He's our
He's our
fire
fire
chief, but he's not on the commission.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, the commissioners are civilians,
Yeah.
and they explicitly can't be members of employed staff.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't
Any
think,
other things you bounced back and forth that you guys were talking about that you?
no, I think most of our stuff was we got talking and we got digging into ordinance, which is,
Okay.
a little more in the weeds than, a lot of our stuff comes down to ordinance and, we talked a lot about that. But I don't, at the charter level, I don't think so. I don't think there's any other, anything else in the charter that affects us. I don't know, is the volunteer tax thing in the charter? Is that ordinance? That's
Ordinance
also.
enabled by Connecticut statute.
Right.
So yeah, that's below this. And we talked a bit about other departments, other commissions, other interactions with them, and everything was fine. We haven't had any issues with what we talked about, everything from PD to building and
Is there anything in the ordinance that should be considered to be in the charter?
But we need to go back. There's a lot of old stuff in the ordinance that
So that needs to
should
be
probably get cleaned up.
Yeah.
One that we've been tooling around with was, like when people putting some of these structures up, like forcing them to push water supply, putting a water supply on them, and doing some, different things within the ordinance for that. Snow plowing the driveways, we were trying to look quickly yesterday while we were going through the charter again, is what's the, what's it called, property maintenance or blight?
Yeah.
Is there a blight ordinance that says, hey, you got to clear your driveway, where we can't get up, driveway and emergency services, gates, stuff like that, all at the ordinance level. We really need to dig in and,
Needs to stay there.
yeah,
Yeah, I think those are ordinances. Sounds
yeah,
very
all
much so.
definitely ordinances. Yep.
But structurally, like budget and everything else, that's not really.
No.
Bill, you had something?
Well, I just two things. One is, I just want to thank the guys for coming in with a very fine, you did a lot of pre-work and you answered our questions, and that's really good. Just thank you. The question, I don't know if it's an ordinance, charter revision or just a citizen question, but if I was king for a day, okay, and so with respect to the fire department, I would want to know, do we have is there are we meeting the standard for a town of 20,000 citizens? And,
Loaded question, Bill. Loaded
well,
question.
I know it's a loaded question. But I ask loaded questions sometimes. Am I meeting the standard for a town of 20,000 people? Because, if I'm the king for a day, I wouldn't know what the standard was, and I wouldn't want to, but I'd want to, who gets asked that question and who answers that question? I mean, is there someone who asks that question of you? And who, I'm not trying to get into names, but I just want to make sure that the charter and the ordinances support a great fire department.
Do you want me to answer or not? I mean, there's plenty of standards that we meet, and there's a lot of standards that we don't meet, just based on our size, and, the size of the square mileage of the town. So, times and.
Who is it that you had that, I mean, I just don't know. I'm not trying to be a wise guy.
Who's that you had the discussion with?
Who do you have the discussion with? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that would be our commission to see if
Yeah.
if we're meeting the first line in what they ask, and what they're supposed to be doing is
It's provide adequate fire protection.
provide
rescue
adequate
response.
fire protection. So that's really who should be getting reported to, that okay, this is where we're deficient. This is where we're weak, and not meeting certain standards. It comes down to really us in the town and which standards what are we going to measure up against, right? And that's the identify. Oh, you might be muted.
Is the word adequate the problem? Or, I mean, because adequate could be determined a lot of different ways. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a place
Adequate, I think we make it. It's just I mean, it's
There's a lot of different metrics.
a lot of different metrics, based on, our call volume and, but our response times might be bad, but our call volume isn't all that bad. So we don't get, times where we're not responding to somebody's house. So there's a lot of metrics that are going to go into that.
And as with anything, there's a balance. I'll give it just a very specific example. We don't have great response time to the north end of town because we don't have a second firehouse like Wilton does up on the north end of town. But that's a decision that the town has to make, whether, especially, that's a big ask because it's incredibly expensive to get land. And so that's where, you may not necessarily hit some of those, what they consider NFPA or federal standards.
Well, that's
That's
my
just-
question, Russ. Who is it? I just don't know. Who is it that makes that decision?
So the commission is ultimately, based on our powers and duties under 8.4, that the commission is ultimately shall supervise and ensure adequate fire protection and rescue response. So by the charter right now, that's them. They're the ones.
Commission.
Yep. I concur.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself reporting to the commission and the first selectman or just the commission?
I see myself reporting to both.
You report to both?
Yes.
Okay, is that reflected in here?
No.
That was one of my last questions.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It was unclear, the reporting, and I also had one other thing too. Do you ever sort of, because EMS and fire and all of that sort of does triangulate together with police, et cetera, do you ever all get together and have a discussion about sort of reporting to each other or updating each
Oh,
other?
yeah, definitely. On certain, responses that we would all be on, whether it's us as a fire, and the support for us, or how do we support EMS in snow events? How do, we have active threat discussions.
And
So there's a lot of multi-agency, and I would include CERT into that, our community response team
Right.
I think
is also in that conversation.
since I'm on this side of the table, I'll say it. I mean, that's a big part of my job as emergency management director. It's a person who looks at first response and emergency across department lines, across town-wide look at it. So we, like you just said, we just had a meeting we organized about active threat with police, fire, EMS.
Right. I just didn't see a lot of that sort of coordination language in here. That was my other point,
Yeah, it's definitely not in the,
which could be beneficial.
It's part of your job
It's
description.
part of the job description, but you're right, it doesn't exist in the charter. Emergency management is an ordinance currently, and it bases a lot of it off Title 28 with the state statutes. But that's a lot of it. That's my sole purpose in life, is to get everybody to play nice in the sandbox and work collaboratively towards solutions for all sorts of things.
Let me go back to the first selectman question. So in your mind, you report to both the first selectman and to the commission and so forth. If we were to codify that, hi, come on in, you're next, but
Yeah. 2 more minutes?
yeah, of course. If we were to codify that, and actually I'm speaking to my colleagues here, where would that, I guess we'd have to work that in as a addition.
Would that be something would be important to you to actually put into the charter?
I don't know.
The
if it-
reporting line as well as the coordination line?
I mean, there's so much that I give to both of them. I don't know if we need to, I don't know if it needs to
This
be
is your
out.
opportunity.
Yeah,
This only
I
gets open
honestly-
10 years.
I mean, I talk budget with, the first selectman, we talk about our responses and everything we're doing for the residents with the first selectman, and we're doing the same thing with the commission. So I don't know if it really needs to be outlined. I mean, you've been here a little longer.
I'm thinking the years I've been here, I'm just trying to think, I mean, we've been fortunate because we've had great first selectmen for the
Yeah.
27 years I've done it. I'm trying to think of a situation on worst case scenario of, is it not necessary, if someone comes in with an agenda or wants to change things, material perhaps not for the best, does it provide you some insulation in a way that you have a commission versus a direct line? I don't know. I'm just. thought
Or
experiment.
if that person served on the commission and it
Right.
was a member, let's say 1 of 5,
Hmm.
they don't necessarily, outweigh the other 4 commissioners.
Right.
But it's true, your first selectman
That's another.
really only has, same with police, they really only have direct, I mean, in a declared emergency, they have direct authority. But other than that, it's kind of now during the budget process is when they can really,
So when your salary is considered, all of your salaries are considered, the first selectman go to the commission
Not that
or?
I'm aware of. I think it's all outlined in HR and the first select.
Okay.
good
So
question.
yes, that in there is, I don't know how that really, that
Clear.
probably does not happen when
Yeah, I had
you
a
talk
report
about
to that.
salaries. I would assume that it's on a schedule in HR, huge spreadsheet that comes out and what rank, what grade you're in and what year you're in. And it's all laid out.
Gotcha.
But I think going, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that at some point, a professional person who understands has to be able to tell the town or the town council or somebody that we are adequately protected.
Right. There should, to your point, be a report or some sort of,
Yeah.
I mean, that also could, I think that's also kind of served by the annual report. The annual report is furnished to the commission and that outlines all our different areas that we're operating. So I don't think that there's an issue with communication per se, because they have that to review. I mean, obviously we have the monthly meetings, which keeps them apprised of, progress, but the annual report, I think, would be the answer. Maybe that we reference the NFPA standards, we reference our budget. we
so you
reference our
produce an
fleet.
annual report on sort of a health status of the fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, the annual report is
Yeah.
part of it, but also a real direct reflection is your ISO rating for insurance.
Yep, that's another one.
That is a direct reflection of your level of fire protection as the ISO rating that gets assigned and reviewed periodically.
Who signs that?
First selectman, no. Does the commission sign
It's
it?
just no one really signs it. It's just produced by
Insurance.
ISO,
Standard people?
Insurance Service Organization. Yeah,
Because they come through and
in.
ask a ton of questions. They want a ton of documentation. They want to see water flow rates,
Yep.
water supply, trucks, personnel, all that. So
And then that's provided to the commission with their review.
Oh, yeah, we update them that, we went down a
Describes
grade.
different
Yeah,
things.
so again, they just come in and say, they rifle through our files and here's your
But
Here's your
Bill's
rating.
question, that, I think that is one of the
That's one
elements.
way.
One of elements, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
definitely not the gold standard, because there's other,
Yes.
ISO is looking at it from a property conservation
Sure.
lens, not
Correct.
really necessarily from a life safety lens
Yep.
or a general service that we provide, all hazards approach. They're not looking at that. So a lot of the training that we would do, let's say ice rescue, be a
Right.
good example, right? Something the fire department does. ISO doesn't reflect
couldn't
that
care.
because that's not their
Yeah, it's
purview,
not-
Right.
right? It's not involved in insured property.
Huh.
So the value of the fire department, the operational ability of the fire department, that's why it's very difficult. It's in a lot of different boxes, NFPA, ISO, and then just like say, general reflection of what we're doing. So.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, if I understand it correctly, if we wanted to get upset about something or have a commendation to the fire department, I mean, it really reports to the commission, whether it's 3 or 5, and to the first
Yep.
select. And,
Yep.
but that's not written in any of the documents we have per se, I don't think. I mean, go back and look.
No, it's not very clear to your point, Bill. That was one of my questions too. And I think Kathleen's on the same tangent here, whereas who is ultimately this answerable to beyond just as a day-to-day and part of the town too?
Yeah.
And that wasn't actually very clear in the charter.
PD's the same.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Okay.
Is it?
PD's the same, yeah, they have a commission, same broad structure, yeah. But my last thing is we really appreciate the support that the town, we, the volunteers, give, especially through the last charter commission, and really encapsulating that the town should acknowledge us, acknowledge our bylaws, acknowledge our, provide us with equipment, and it's paid dividends. I mean, since that charter, our recruitment and retention of volunteers has gone through the roof. Also, thanks to Albie and now Bill was our new full-time training guy. I mean, it's really shown spades. So on behalf of the volunteers, we really appreciate, especially the last charter review that.
That's great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in.
You are welcome.
And if you have any thoughts or ideas, post this conversation. You can submit them via email to the CRC in general.
Okay.
All of that is on the website in terms of an email address, as a group email address. So don't stop thinking. Please submit them. It's
And
very
we-
beneficial. Yeah.
We have commission members who are also attending at some point too, right? Do we have that scheduled? Commission, the actual
Yes.
fire commission?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think, obviously we've picked some threads here, so please.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
And then the president of the volunteer fire company is also.
Yes. Great.
Nice job, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Sure.
Thanks, the other.
It was
Bill
nice to
Parrott.
meet, the other, Bill Parrott and Bill Parrott. Very nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
we'll have a cup
Is
of
it
coffee one
Melissa?
day after this CRC is over, because I wouldn't want to have to record minutes.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Have a great day.
Take care. Thank you for your
Take
time.
care.
Thanks.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, wherever you'd like to sit.
I think the camera's better on you if you sit there.
Okay. A little
Hi.
easier. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
So just to give you a broad overview, we're here to ask questions about the charter.
Yeah.
Get your inputs, get your opinions. Obviously, any suggestions or changes, welcome. There's probably going to be some questions from us as well. So for the record, can you at least state your name and what you're here on, what business?
Sure. Ally Van Ness, and I am the interim acting chair of the Town Ethics Board. I'm also I happen to be right now the longest sitting member of the Ethics Board and have come in and out of the chair role over the years. So I picked up after Tucker left, but actually I overlapped with Tucker for a couple of years. So,
Tucker's last name.
sorry, Klaus, who I think was the person who sort of founded the Ethics Board.
He was the first chair.
Perfect there,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Did you have a chance to look at the charter and did you have any suggestions or things that you wanted to point us to?
Not really. I mean, I did have a chance to look. I would say for purposes of the ethics board and carrying out what we believe that mission is, and activating the ethics code or being receptive to issues, that's really the narrow focus that I have. I think it works very well. The charter, I don't think the ethics board needs anything specific. We'll be issuing our annual report in the next 30 to 60 days. in accordance with the code. And we have a few little things that we're gonna try to change, but they're so minor. I don't think they're at the level of the major revision of the charter. I think the charter on the whole works well for us. It works fine for us. I am actually curious if there's anything that's come up that you think we should know about as we go into our next meeting, which is in a couple of weeks, where we'll be talking about what goes into our annual report and dealing with a few of those sort of administrative changes that we need to suggest. They're very, they're just so low altitude that I don't think they need your committee's time, but I'm happy to tell you everything we're looking at.
So do you think sort of the staggering of terms is helpful to you?
It's great.
Okay.
Thank goodness we have staggered terms, because even with that, we had a collapse of the board in December based on some unforeseen vacancies. And I don't know that that requires any change in the code or the charter, I should say. But even with staggered terms, we found ourselves without a quorum in December.
Wow.
Yep,
Okay.
for a period of time. We're back in business, but
Back in
but just barely, actually. We barely.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we have, it's a 5-member board, and that works really well. I think it's the right size, and the meeting frequency seems to work. I mean, unless you're hearing from other people, I think it works fine. It's a quiet little thing. We're not very active, but we're there when you need us, right? So it's 5 people, 3 is a quorum. And in November, 1 member ran for and was seated on the Board of Ed. So he stepped away, but we knew well in advance.
And he was chair.
And he was chair. He was chair after I was chair, right? And so we had talked about this possibility that if he's lucky enough to win his seat, he would step away. So that happened, and that was well foreseen. Unforeseen and unknown was that a second person on the board, I think, got appointed to something related to the police commission, but we
He's on
didn't.
the police commission.
Right,
Yeah.
but we didn't know that that was unfolding, so we didn't know that that was even a possibility, and then that happened, so he also needed to step away quickly. And then unfortunately, a third person had a medical emergency and still remains unable to participate as of now. So like within a matter of weeks, 3 people out of 5 were not seated. I don't know that it's appropriate. I don't know where this goes or if
It's open to the public.
Yeah. So anyway, that stopped us for a moment.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And we had to note, we tried to have a special meeting to address a complaint, and we met and did not have a quorum, so we could not actually couldn't even open the meeting. So we were here in person and we closed the meeting, let people know, because there were some vacancies that were in the process of being filled. And so to the extent that process could be accelerated without altering anything, we thought that it should be. As you probably know, we don't participate at all in that. We just receive the appointed members. So since that time, in I think early January, another member was seated, and we suddenly had a quorum, so we held our special meeting. So we were able to, quickly pick up, but I would say there was a period of probably a month or so where we did not have a quorum.
That's a risk.
Yeah, it is. It is.
How long have you served again?
I think I've just started my 6th year.
And in those 6 years, have you ever had a situation that you had in December, January?
No, never.
So it's an unusual.
It was a perfect storm. Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
It was very unusual, and it had the effect of delaying us taking action to respond to something by that amount of time. So,
And now having that under your belt and learning that,
yes.
how would you change that going forward?
I don't know if I would change anything. It's so unusual. I mean, the medical thing is just, God forbid, you never know, right? It could happen to anybody. The only thing I could think is that if we had known ahead of time that people were running for something, we could have known we had 2 people in play instead of just 1. But do we have a right to ask people to tell us that they're running? I'm not sure, probably not.
Right.
I think it's probably fine that we found out later.
Were you able to fill the vacancies within the 60 days that was done by the charter, or is that?
That's where
Did
I
that
was sort of
work?
going, do you want to have a not 60 days, but a shorter time period for a vacancy?
I don't know. I mean, I think that the vacancies got filled pretty quickly. And I think the other thing is we we just receive these people that get appointed. So we don't even, that is one thing. Maybe it would be good for us to have a phone number to call or a thing that we're expected to do if we're having an issue with seats. Because we had to handle it informally, sort of made a phone call to say, by the way, we need people because we don't have a quorum. It was such an unusual,
When
situation.
when the new people were brought forward, were you involved in the discussions and interviewing them and receiving them, or were you just kind of told? These are the people?
Informally, and which I think is completely fine. Like, I think there's, as you probably can imagine, the ethics board, it's all about neutrality. And both the actual neutrality and the appearance of even-handedness completely, right? So if I did get a couple of phone calls about candidates and people said, are you available to talk to them? And I said, yes, of course. I always say yes. And then had a phone call, but then I don't know that anybody asked me to follow up. I don't think anybody asked my opinion, and I was happy that it's fine. So I didn't know till I was told that they were approved. So we really don't participate at all unless asked to.
Which I think if you want, I'm talking to my commissioner colleagues here, as we talked about this morning, and setting up a process for how people are considered for new boards, ethics board, any other board. And some commissions that we've talked to, the chair is very much involved, right? We heard that from Board of Selectmen, P and Z, Board of Finance. There is a conversation of back and forth. They're interviewing people. I mean, it's much more proactive, and whatever the right standard is, I'm not suggesting there is one, but whatever the right standard is, it should be consistent.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, I would say there are a couple of capabilities that are helpful to have on the board. And so to the extent that there's a screening for experience and just the facility to read a code and apply it in the way that we do, doesn't mean everybody has to be a lawyer. I think it's nice to have a mix on the board, but there are things you should be able to do.
Do you take training?
Sorry.
Do you get trained?
No. You come onto the ethics board, you get informal training from the sitting board members. But that is one of the things. You come onto the board with a certain set of experience. I do think that lawyers are especially capable at reading the ethics code and applying it. So in that sense, I think lawyers are well suited. But there are a few other capabilities that if we had the chance to diversify the experience on the board, we might try to tell people we could use finance experience or we could use HR. We happen to have someone who does employment law that got appointed to the board. That's actually very helpful.
Right.
That's a helpful skill to have on this particular board, but you don't need a whole room full of them. And it's fine if somebody's not a lawyer. People come from all different backgrounds that are actually really helpful to that kind of a discussion. So I think that's actually not a bad idea, but I guess, I don't mind taking a light touch on this because I think it seems to work pretty well informally. And so I don't think we need to proactively demand any changes, but if you thought it was appropriate, we would receive them.
Bill had some questions.
Oh, sure. Hi.
How you doing? Well, I think it was really the last point there are, as you well know, a number of different commissions, a lot of different committees and so on. And in some respects, by involving the chair at the end of the process, you don't get the wisdom and you don't really get from the chair what is needed on the committee. And so I was just wondering about the order. I'm not looking for a wholesale change. I know, for example, in audit committee, which I was on for 10 years, not everybody's been an auditor. Not everybody knows what an auditor does or wants to know what an auditor does. But, being involved in the end of the process may not be ideal. Thoughts on that?
That's a really good point. Well, and I'm sorry, but I missed your lead in. So I don't know if you're asking about this particular charter process or if you mean about filling board seats.
Filling board
I'm
seats.
asking about the charter process in which really goes to, several of the things we're considering as elected versus appointed. If you do appointed, how do you do appointed terms, different things like that. So we're looking at all those different things. And one of the elements would be if we don't make any change and rely upon the process the way it works today, it might be helpful to see if we could even improve that process, whether we do it by ordinance or just by recommendation.
For filling board seats.
For filling board seats, yeah. probably makes sense to consult earlier in the process. If you were making a change, that would probably be positive for the town.
Yeah, because there's been discussion we had earlier this morning about the same, just making sure that everyone gets a chance to
Yeah,
apply and be heard.
yeah.
And that, you know, because I think it depends on what board, what commission, how the process works. And we don't, I think in our discussions, and I'm curious your thought to this, is that would you agree that it makes sense to maximize the pool of people who are willing that you can review?
Absolutely agree. Yeah, totally agree. Maximize the pool and maybe socialize the opportunity so more people think to apply.
And then have a
Great idea.
more, I wouldn't say rigorous, but more programmatic
Yeah.
vetting process with more eyes on, more people having conversations to then finally deliver you as part of a participant as well in that conversation, a necessary board member for you. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm all for process and standards, and you have a expected thing that you're going to step through so everyone gets treated the same. I think that's a great point. I'm mindful that it can be hard to fill these kinds of seats, and so I wouldn't want to put any barriers in
Right.
front of somebody who wants to do it.
And do you think that within 60 days, should it be 30 days of vacancy?
I guess I would I wonder what we'd give up. Like, is it hard to find people? Is it, are we likely to be out of compliance very quickly because we can't find people?
It sounds like even if they found you one person,
Oh, absolutely.
it would have helped you proceed with that matter.
100% it would have, yeah. I mean, why do we have it 60 days? Is that how long it takes to find someone and put them through the conversations?
It could, especially if you introduce something where
Yeah.
there's a more rigorous and broader
But
review
hopefully you
process.
put together a
You go
review.
either way.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can put together a review process though that's more programmatic. You would basically be able to do
Click
things
through it.
faster, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
Right? At least there would be gates and stages and things could happen. at a
And you
certain
know the
pace.
difference between the must-dos and the nice-to-haves.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah,
if you're
that's a good
looking
point.
for one person,
Yes,
at least, because it's a little concerning that you guys couldn't address something.
it was,
And you
yes.
couldn't form a quorum,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was actually very concerning. I mean, we couldn't do anything, but
And then did you
Yeah.
escalate that to the select person?
yes, we did.
Okay.
We did. And that seemed to accelerate the process of seating at least the one person that we needed. But even that, I will say, having 3 people, it's not ideal. This is a matter that deserves the 5, it deserves having 5 people consider it, and we still don't have that. So I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe shortening the time, 45 days even.
45.
What's the remedy though?
Well,
If-
I don't think
if
there
it's
is.
right-
If you
There's
don't get
nothing,
it.
if you don't do it,
There's no
Yeah.
there's no remedy.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Are we likely to slip out of compliance too quickly and too often?
Yeah,
No.
60 days, this was, I don't think the 60 days shortening to 30 would have changed the situation.
sounds
I
like-
don't know, but, because you did get somebody eventually.
We
right?
got somebody, yeah, pretty quickly. It also, the other element of the perfect storm was that it kind of happened in an election year and over 2 holidays. Like, what are the chances?
And a
of
very
that?
short holiday schedule.
Exactly, compressed, you're right, between the 2. So it's
Thanksgiving and Christmas was
very
pretty tight.
unusual situation, but having a way to, having something appropriate that I could have done that people would have expected to say, hey, we have too many openings.
Once you pick up the phone and push that button, then
Yes.
this process kicks in.
Yeah.
To basically get something going through the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds
Bench.
great.
You
yeah.
know, listening to this conversation, I was just wondering, we never did this on the audit committee, but what about just sort of identifying someone ahead of time? May not be something you can do on the ethics committee, but on the audit committee you certainly could. And you're really vetting that person, so you have sort of a ready reserve. I mean, sooner or later,
Like an
people,
alternate
Or a bench.
or a bench. I mean, that
Yeah,
would be
bench, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, alternate or
because
bench.
people are sometimes unavailable too.
Because then they're done and you're ready to go at the drop
That
of
would
a
be
hat.
amazing. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Right, okay, that's great.
Very helpful.
Is there any, do you feel that the net that you have responsibility for? Because it says, it's for employees, elected, appointed, regular, alternate, town, board of ed, police commission, paid or unpaid. Is the net encompassing enough? Is it too big? Is it too small? Is it appropriate?
I'm gonna judge that by what I've seen. So I've seen a lot. I've seen what there is in 5 years. And we've had a range of things that you know about and a few things that you don't know about. I think it's appropriate because we don't have too many and we don't have none.
Right.
You know, if it was too wide, we'd be handling complaints all the time and we're not. If it was too narrow, we'd never see anything. And that's not true either. I'm curious what you all think, because I don't know if people really know we have an ethics board or whether they should know more or not know more. Like, does it, to your eyes, does it work the way it's supposed to? We're a responsive board, we're not proactive. We've received complaints. That's part of how we keep our impartiality. But I'm aware that there are some neighboring towns that don't even have ethics boards. And so I'm curious, that I don't know the view on that. Is this working? Do you think it's working the way it should?
Well, I'll try to answer that question. I think I was I was going to ask you a question, but I'll get to my question by responding to
Okay.
yours. I think the town has a whistleblower process, which today federal government has and everything. And do you see, or do you have a conversation as to what comes up in the whistleblower process? There may be I'm sure there are a lot of items that come up, but there may be one every 3 or 4 or 5 years that should come to your attention, and do you have access in doing that? And if the town has that process, Russ, you would know, is that advertised enough to the town employees? And so that, and then in that you could tie in the ethics board as well. So it's sort of, I don't know the answer is you should be advertised more, but maybe through the whistleblower process. That would be my sense. Russ, do we have a whistleblower process?
Yeah, I mean, well, so there's obviously every employee gets the town packet, which has all of this as part of the introduction. I don't think there's any downside to saying, hey, we're out there, and as do we as commissioners. Yeah, that's actually a very good point, because we're also under the purview as commissioners. I think from the municipal side, I'd be willing to bet probably not, but we also struggle the same. I mean, like most people don't think we're an all-paid or a volunteer fire department or one or the other. So unfortunately, I don't think there's probably a ton of transparency on the municipal level to answer your question.
Right.
I don't think there's any bad perception whatsoever that I've ever heard at all.
I think as Ally appropriately said, we're here if you need them.
Right.
And I think members of the public, if they find a problem with an individual commissioner or what have you, there is a process.
Yes.
It's well documented as how you file a grievance or ethics complaint. I'll just, as context, I'll mention that this section 14 used to be called just personnel, and there was a personnel board 10 years ago. And that's where ethics complaints were brought with respect to personnel, et cetera.
Okay.
And the town council, in evaluating and during frankly, the start of the Charter Revision Commission, said, gee, where's the ethics board fit in? And it was really addressed in the personnel section. But as we started to research, in fact, there was very few towns that didn't have some form of ethics. Westport being the only one, but they pulled that into their RTM. We were, if you considered the audit committee review, we were the first to put on an audit committee, one of the first. We were one of the last to incorporate an ethics board. So and we did them at the same time. And so we did have a foundation by which we could compare other towns to what the right format should be with respect to the ethics board. And so it wasn't technically in addition to what we had here in the charter, but we did modify the name to the ethics board and give them the same roles and responsibilities that other ethics boards had. And I forget the number of towns we looked at, but I know that fellow Councilman Kevin Moynihan and I went through all of that, brought it to the full town council. It became an ordinance. And as we've talked about the step process, the ordinance then helped us define what was to go into the charter in terms of changing the personnel thing. So
interesting.
And actually, and it cites the state regulation section 7-148H of the general statutes. To what extent have you, as a ethics board member, consulted that? Is there any sort of guidance that you take from the Connecticut state statutes that's mentioned here?
Well, I don't know about that H section in particular, but I have often looked at the Connecticut statutes because we had a matter a couple of years ago that touched on all of it. And so I went back into the state law. And that's one thing I was going to ask you is what I haven't looked at recently is what discretion do we have as a town because I know that there's state level code for ethics boards. So I actually have found that ours seems to function really well within all of that. And there have been a couple of times when I've had to lean on those structures to make a decision. And hypothetically, we could see one of those again really soon.
Okay.
Just saying. Where it's not perfectly clear on the face of a complaint, whether it's properly before the ethics board.
Just
So
tell us, it's not about us.
it's
right?
not about you. Hypothetically, it's not about you. But really, what I've found is in most cases, there is a way to evaluate whether it's properly in front of us at the right time, or, but we just go very carefully, methodically through each step technically. So yes, I do look at the state codes.
That's where I was going with sort of training. Does the state ever provide training on that section of the?
I've never seen it.
So
No,
I was just curious.
no, and that's exactly why I was saying it's helpful if you're a lawyer on the
Right.
board, because this is what we do.
Do you engage our municipal council? I would
I have, yes.
assume. Yeah, okay, I
Yes.
would assume. I was just out of curiosity.
Exactly, yes. Exactly when and how is a case by case question. And he's been a great partner.
Okay.
So, yes.
Under the ordinance, so we don't have that in front of us, but under the ordinance, is the ethics board able to seek its own independent counsel?
Yes,
Okay.
we can ask for that if we think we need it.
Okay.
And we would do that in consultation with the town attorney first, if that seems appropriate. That's what we did one time. So yeah, I do feel like we have the ability to ask for that if we feel like we need it.
You have the right tools.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we do. I mean, I actually think the whole thing functions very well, and it's well laid out, and I think we bump up against the edges of it at times, but the process works and it plays out, and I do think we're going to find ourselves in one of those.
But
I think advertising maybe is probably the right word. I think just letting the citizens know that we have the ethics board and that it functions, the more we can do that, they should feel terrific about the independent process. And, why hide
It's
it?
very independent. Yeah.
Very
okay.
independent. Yeah. So, I mean, that would be my sense,
Okay. I mean, that's good to know. I think we can take it offline. I mean, it was a few, I want to say it had to be more than a few years ago now. Tucker was talking about the need to educate people on our existence.
Tucker Klaus.
Yeah, sorry, not giving his full name. But I think we could take back to the board a question about what's the most appropriate way to do that. It could be like a letter to the editor in the town paper.
Yeah.
Something
Or you can be
informal.
interviewed by
Or we can be interviewed
yeah.
by, yeah,
Or-
that's true.
You say
Profile.
you issue a report every
We
year.
do, yeah.
That's probably a naturally convenient time to then educate people on when you issue that about what you do and what this report contains and,
Yeah,
who you are, how to contact you.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
That's an opportunity.
I mean, we do it and then it gets posted to the town website and that's it. So to your point, I'm not even sure who ever sees it. So I don't know how.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, well, no, I just mean like, I didn't mean that in a negative way. I just meant
No,
like
but all that hard
this,
work and.
Yeah, so we'll issue a report for 2025 soon. I'll tell you right now, there's not much in it. So that's not going to be a very active discussion, that one. But the board is more active this year, as you're aware now. So we will have things to talk about. Michael Dinan used to come to our meetings when there wasn't a conflict, and then he would write it up in the paper. And I feel like that was another way people heard about us. I just, we try really hard to balance this, just the propriety of being a appropriately quiet board that is ready to act when needed, but we don't put our finger on anything.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems like
You
the
have
right
to wait to
profile.
be received.
Yes.
You can't
Correct.
observe and say there's a
Correct.
problem.
Right,
here.
correct. And so then to your point, that's why maybe they do need to be made aware, because we are never going to take action unless someone brings something
Right.
to us.
So the big takeaway I got is you would like us to strongly consider adding an alternate.
I love that idea. Yeah. Because that would have helped us a lot.
One would make sense, or two, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, if we can think it through, we balance the board with 2 seats that are historically Democratic, 2 that are Republican, and 1 that's unaffiliated. Usually that's the makeup. Does it matter then if there's an alternate? They're going to be only one of those things, right? So that's just something to think about.
I think, again, that would be a substantive change
It would
to
be, yeah.
add alternate to here.
Yeah, it
I
would
think
be.
if you could add it to the ordinance, because that's easy to do, easier, excuse me. But secondly, if we can adopt some of the best practices that we've just begun talking about and may make a recommendation to having a bench, having an interview process, expanding how we advertise a slot that's open, et
Yeah.
cetera. Maybe we wouldn't run into those same circumstances.
Could
in
address it. I
that
mean, like
selection.
you said, it was an exceptionally rare confluence of circumstances that caused it. However, some of the issues that you address are quick burn. You've got to address them
Exactly,
right
that's
then and
exactly
there.
That's where I was sort of going, like,
That's exactly right.
if someone
But it's-
filed,
but
there's
it's
also.
rare,
an
it's rare, but
expectation
it
of
happens. I
action.
mean, the same thing happened 2 years ago when I stepped off the audit committee. It took a while to, replace people. I know that there's changes going on there now. It all drags out. If I was in charge of appointing the person, it would drag out because there's other priorities that come up. It's just
Right.
human nature, right? So just having a process that tries to accelerate that. And if you don't have a crisis where you have to appoint somebody, I think you do a better job vetting the people.
Oh, agreed. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
But also your issues that come up to you do have some timeliness to them.
They really do. People, and it's baked into the code too.
Yep.
Respond in this much
Yep.
time and everything.
Right.
Yeah, the time.
That's where I was going with,
Yeah.
they couldn't fill a seat. I read your criteria and it's not, you don't have a lot of time.
No, we don't. You're right.
So not being able to have the right people or be able to form a quorum
It was a problem.
it's a problem in
Yeah.
terms of meeting the standard that you
That's
set
right.
out. Yeah,
Absolutely true.
okay. Excellent.
Yeah. thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm appreciative of the work that y'all are doing.
As are you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you have any other thoughts after this,
Okay.
you're welcome to submit by email or come
Okay.
back
Okay.
as you chew on this or speak to some of your
Yeah.
fellow commissioners. They're welcome to come as well.
In fact, one couldn't join.
That's right.
Right,
Alex
yeah.
Daffy. Yeah.
Had,
So they're welcome
Yeah.
to come, or if you've covered what they would say, I don't. it's
We
fine.
talk a lot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we covered everything.
Okay.
okay.
But I'd like you to know him anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then there is an email address that's on our site, so that basically you could send to a group. If you had some,
CRC distribution.
CRC.
Yeah, if you see the wheels turning, it's only because this is another little lowbrow issue, but we have a post office box for the ethics board. And there's 2 keys and 2 people check it and we have a process. The box got closed by the post office without any notification
Oh.
to anyone. So that also happened in this period. So we're actually, one of the things the board is looking at, I know, I didn't even want to bring it up, but what we're going to do is revisit our process. Like, do we need that box? Because it's hard to maintain. And there was a breakdown there somehow. And then we have a nice partner in the town clerk. And can we use that, which feels better to me, she feels more reliable to me, without losing the impartiality that the public requires for feeling comfortable filing a complaint. And the
Complaint.
board's gonna take that back. I don't know if you want to have.
That's an ordinance issue.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yeah. So, that's on our map too.
Okay.
A lot in their map.
I
You
mean,
could go
suddenly it
to-
was really quiet to,
You could go to UPS store and get a box and they won't close it on you. The public post office probably closed it because someone didn't pay the bill.
yeah, and there were so many questions about that. Where did the bill go and when did it get closed? And what does it mean to have it be closed? And if the people checking the box had no knowledge that it had been closed, that's what was happening. The
Right.
box was getting checked.
Oh, yes, I've been in
How
a
is that even
non-for-profit,
possible?
no, because the combination.
No, it's a key.
Oh, it's a key?
It's a key. So it raised so many questions. So we're digging through
Okay.
that to get to the bottom of it. And, we're considering the fact that the whole world has email now. Can we build email into our process so that nothing would ever sit?
Right.
Some secured email, secured site.
Secure email, well, so that it raises
There's
those
a lot of
questions.
secured
And
sites.
then how do you make it anonymous? And that's different.
Or even
It
just
can't
the
be
email to say
Could never
that the thing had been filed, even if.
Right, the clerk should send that they've received an envelope.
Something,
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
just,
Yep.
One of the things that you should be aware of, I mean, we certainly haven't reached any conclusions, but right now the town clerk is elected. And a lot of people have said that should be an appointed position. And I think
interesting,
I think
right.
having, writing ethics letters to a town employee to be passed on to the ethics committee, to me, wouldn't be the standard you'd want.
Well, that's why there's the question about that. And it would only work if the agreement on the process was that it doesn't get opened. It's just a
Right.
place for it to land
Reside.
unopened. But if anybody, that's why it hasn't been done like that before. It's because it could raise a question, and I think that's why there was the box, but I don't know what happened where
Gotcha.
all the things that can possibly go wrong went wrong at the same time.
Oh, boy.
Well, we said it before, but thank you, because everything you do they're difficult, sometimes uncomfortable conversations, and it's thankless work that a lot of people don't even know gets done. So seriously, volunteering your time, it's really
Thanks.
incredible.
Thank you.
Appreciate
We
it.
serve an incredible town. The people who serve, I'm not speaking for myself, but even the newest person who just joined, everybody who joined said they just want to give back a little and do some community service, and so we have a good town. Everybody knows it.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Ally.
much. Nice to meet you all too. Bye.
You have your
We have to do an
agenda?
I'm
adjournment.
gonna do an
Yeah.
adjournment before I can hit the button.
Yeah.
There was no other topics. on the
No other
list, yeah.
topics, so
Okay.
we are done with our interview sections for today. There will be, we'll adjourn group 2. Do I have a
I'll make
motion?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.